Well, in some ways, the book grew out of the book series that I co-edit for Columbia University Press, and the book series is called Insurrections, Critical Studies in Religion, Politics, and Culture. And it's been a very successful book series in which we've published a lot of luminaries, international luminaries. And because of the success of the book series, the editor at Columbia University Press suggested that we write something like a manifesto that kind of explains what differentiates this series' approach to religion and theology from other studies in religion and philosophy. The book is made up of 4 gospels. We call them 4 new gospels for a radical politics. And the first 3 of the gospels, written by myself, Ward Blanton, and Clayton Crockett, were all written independently of one another. There's a structure for the book as a whole, which is the idea of the fourfold, which is drawn from the 20th century philosopher Martin Heidegger. And the fourfold is earth, sky, mortals, and gods. And so the 4 gospels each take on one aspect of that fourfold. The book itself, without a woman's voice, would be incomplete and problematic for a lot of different reasons. So Noelle's piece was absolutely instrumental to the success of the book as a whole.
Precisely. I function as the difference, or the gospel that I wrote for that book functions as the difference in the discourse. And so, and I guess you could say in some ways it functions as a strategic essentialism, situating myself somewhat on the edge of that discourse, yet wholly within it as well, playing that role, standing for the others, the embodied others, the oftentimes erased voices of the others. So it's obviously a role, and it's obviously intentional. And I wrote the gospel with that in mind, in response to everything that they wrote.
What gospel originally means is good news. And so what we were trying to do with this book is to really write the good news of what's called radical theology. How is it that a very kind of critical theological approach to religious studies and contemporary philosophy, how does that not lead to despair or cynicism, but instead lead to a genuine affirmation of life? And that's what we were trying to achieve in this book. And I think what's interesting about both what I did and what Noelle did is that this affirmation of life really grows out of dealing with some of the worst aspects of our history and the worst aspect of our shared life together. I deal specifically with critical race theory and the history of lynching in the United States. And Noelle picks up on a lot of similar themes based on her work in genocide studies.
It's not just picking up on these strands of history, but rather it's a critique overall of the very concept of gospel that I take on. And so mine is a bit of a killjoy gospel, I would say, where the idea is to find the good news in the bad news itself of a radical secular theology. So I struggle. I have a lot of difficulty making the move of affirmation that my co-writers take on, but I of course want to take it on as well.
The point is not exchanging the world, but changing the world. You don't want to exchange this world for another, like hoping for the afterlife, but instead, what is it that you can do here and now to say yes to existence as it is, and also to make this world a better place? And so that's really the thrust of the work that I was trying to articulate in this book, is to really figure out a way that we can use contemporary religious and theological thought to foster positive change in the world.